This is Sean Williams here in Suite 609 for Dallas South News. I am joined by former Dallas Police Chief and current Dallas Mayoral Candidate, Mr. David Kunkle. Thank you for coming in.
Oh, good morning. Thanks for having me.
See you. I wanted to first ask, you were retired, rode off into the sunset from the police department, now you're running for mayor. Why come back and get back into the public arena?
Well, the truth of the matter is that I believe that the people needed more choice than what I thought they were going to have, and also believed, in my view, that a handful of downtown people shouldn't pick the Dallas mayor, and without an active race where the candidates had to debate issues and had to go out to all the communities, ask for their support.
So I guess, are you kind of positioning yourself as kind of an outside candidate, not from the establishment?
Well, yeah, I thought I would be in that position before I started. Once I asked for money, it was clear to me that I was going to be running as an outsider.
Mm-hmm.
But I've actually found that to be comforting because it frees me up in a lot of ways.
So I know that one of your opponents, Mr. Tennessee, got the endorsement of the Police Association. How did that make you feel when you saw that, especially from some folks that you worked so long with?
Well, two things. One, they gave them an endorsement without before either I or Mr. Rawlings had announced as candidates, and there was no interview process. But I also knew that when I was chief, I wasn't in a popularity contest with the union, and I did things that they disagreed with. I believe time will tell, and it has already told that what I did was correct and were necessary to make the department better, keep the officers safer, and also reduce injury to citizens.
What about your record? Is that part, and your experience as police chief, how would that help you if you were to be mayor?
I think being police chief is, in Dallas, for example, I had a third of the city budget and a third of the workforce, and was out every night with the public, trying to understand what their needs, concerns, desires were, and trying to deliver service in a way that would be acceptable. So, and you deal with a lot of different constituencies. I really think it's probably the best training ground for being mayor, and could even make an argument that it may be harder than being mayor in some ways.
So you had budget that you had to deal with in the police department. Obviously, the city of Dallas is going through its own budgeting issues right now. What are some of the things that you see, having seen one side of that issue, that could help Dallas as a city with their budget woes that we've seen?
Yeah, I think with the budget, my view is that we're going to continue to have a structural imbalance, that there's going to be less revenues than desired expenditures, so we're going to be having to make cuts, and I've always thought cuts should not be made across the board, because you end up cutting things that are essential, where you can't even do the basic services, and you don't cut items that are luxuries as much. And I also think there cannot be any sacred cows. So even with the police and fire departments, and those are critical things that he does, but you have to look at their budgets very carefully to make sure there's not waste in their budgets.
What about on the revenue side? Obviously there was a tax increase late last year to help address the budget situation. Do you think that's the right way to go about it, or how do you address the revenue side?
Well, no, I think that our taxes are already too high, and I do believe we have to live within our means right now, because it does help give businesses and homeowners a sense of stability about what their costs are going to be when everything else is going up. So I think we can't raise taxes. As far as rolling that tax increase back, I'm not sure it could be done, and I would have to get in the position to better understand what the consequences